Yes. So we are back at it. We are continuing with the syllabus. We are still under section 1 of the PoB syllabus, which talks about the nature of business. This is our 3rd session. Next week is our last for the summer program. And what we are focusing on today is the types of economic systems. And I'm sure you all would have come across this already. Hint, hint, economics, right? So for those who are doing econ with me, you all would have probably, remember the different economic systems within an economy. So it's a good revision for those who are doing econ. For those who are new to this, it's very simple. All you need to just try to remember is that when we're dealing with economic systems, we have certain aspects of the economy that we have to look at in depth, because what's happening in an economy, in any economy, is a fundamental economic problem, or a fundamental problem that we are going to see everywhere. All right. And when we are focusing on these economic systems, we have to actually understand what are the criteria we have to do to kind of solve these economic problems. And do you all remember what the economic problem is? Do you all remember? Very good. So our unlimited needs and wants, and that summarizes a one-word answer, which is scarcity. Very good, you guys. So I'm guessing you all are doing econ with me, or you all probably came across this already in economics. Okay, just give me a second. I don't know what's happening. Right. So we have the problem of scarcity, and with this topic, we are looking at how we can solve the problem of scarcity in our day-to-day living. What choices we have to make? What do we have to give up? Those are the things that we have to bear in mind to combat those problems. So we are looking at this here. So every economy is faced with a fundamental economic problem. In every economy, whether rich or poor, there are limited resources and unlimited wants. That is, the resources of a country are not enough to satisfy the wants of all citizens. So we have an idea what's happening here. We have so many wants, so many needs. We want basically everything, but we cannot. We accept that as a reality, okay? Since the resources of a country is limited and all our wants are unlimited, choices will have to be made. For example, the government may have to decide whether to spend more money on school, hospitals, transportation, or on road works. So the process of choice begins with a scale of preference. So this might be a little new for those who would have done econ with me. It's just a scale of preference because we have a limited resource, which is money. This limited resource, which is money, we are being faced with that within the economy, and not just Trinidad, it's worldwide, okay? So when we have this limited resource, we have to probably make a scale of preference. So we have here, first of all, spend more money on schools, then hospitals, then transportation on road. Let me see, what is the scale of choice here? Let's see. So they're first deciding to go with hospitals. So they fix up the hospitals, provide hospital beds. Then we have transportation. Okay, so they're going to pay for these transportation services throughout the economy. They're going to fund it. Then they're going to fund schools, all the public schools. They probably might do some furnishing and some fixtures around the school. And then they will take the money and then do road works. So this is a list of all the options that they can use their money for. Let me just say, this is an example. So the option to build hospitals being placed at the top of the scale of preference indicates that this choice is most preferred, as it yields the greatest satisfaction from the resources to be spent. All right. So because we have to put hospitals at the top, more of our money, more of our resources will be spent on hospitals. So let me just say for the example, transportation, and then schools, and then roadworks, they will be right after. They will not take priority right away, when the hospitals basically taking first place, first priority. We need to fix all the public hospitals in the economy. If you all have ever been there, or you may have known someone to experience the service of the public hospital, some of you might say, it's all right, you know, it's okay. But sometimes you might hear, this is the worst service ever. You might hear that. You might hear people saying that it's better to spend your money and go to the private hospitals, but be mindful that the money in private hospitals might be a lot. So what's happening here is that the government might want to just fix up all the public hospitals, not the private, the public hospitals, and give up some money for the transportation, schools, and roadworks. So they're giving it up a little bit. What we can say is that because they're solely looking at hospitals, we can definitely see that there's an opportunity cost arising. All right, there's an opportunity cost. And let me see my smart econ students here. I'm seeing some familiar names. Can you all remind me what is opportunity cost? I know the recordings are not, well, the video is not on, but we are looking at opportunity cost. Yes, Celine, I'm seeing your answer. It is the next best alternative foregone, right? So we are giving up transportation, we're giving up the schools, we're giving up the roadways. When I mean giving up, I'm using less money to pay for these items. Sorry, my hands. Right. We're using less money to pay for these items. We're solely focusing on hospitals. So hospitals is what we choose to spend more money on, and we are giving up transportation, schools, and roadworks. We're spending less money on it. So we can comfortably say that it is the option to build hospitals being the first at the top of the scale of preference indicates that this choice is most preferred, as it yields the greatest satisfaction from the resources to be spent. Transportation is the opportunity cost of this choice, as it is the second most preferred option that had to be given up to accommodate the building of hospitals. So we gave up transportation. So we are saying that opportunity cost is defined as the next best alternative foregone as a result of making a choice. So we choose hospitals, we give up transportation, schools, and roadworks. Transportation, schools, and roadworks will be the opportunity cost. But you know, I like to go a little bit more in depth with these examples. So I have $20 in my pocket, and you know, all you know we are going to come with this. Or you should know me for how long? For 3 weeks now, and all you know I'm going to come with something food. I have $20 in my pocket, and I can choose either to buy. How much doubles can I get with $20 again? How much? I mean, how much doubles prices? For some people saying four. Where am it? Tell me where you get it? $2, $3. I wish $6. I know $6 is doubles prices. So I have 20. I could comfortably say I'll buy 3 and I have a little change. Probably if you're going by sauce doubles, you might get a little solo soft drink. So I have that choice. Or I can take this $20 and buy myself a notebook for Miss Class from September. What would you all do? What would you all choose to do with this $20? But off the record, if I was in your position, I might say, you know what? The book could wait. I mean, September quite next month. I will buy the doubles now. I'm hungry. I'm a mother and cook, whatever. I take the $20 and I bought the doubles. What did I give up? I gave up the notebook. The notebook is going to be my opportunity cost. I gave up the notebook to choose to buy doubles. Doubles is always the answer. All right. So for you remember this, you all will understand how opportunity cost works. And because of why I had to choose, because we have this problem of resources. I wish I could have bought the doubles and the notebook, but I only had $100, so I had to make a choice. So too does the economy. The economy has limited resources, which is money. They have to make a choice on what they're going to spend money on, right? So we are looking at opportunity costs here because of the fundamental economic problem of scarcity. So I hope I'm encouraging you guys. So if you all have not looked at economics as a subject area to do, it's wonderful. You're going to see exactly what we're talking about here in PoB into the econ subject. Right? So you all have that option still at hand. So we are looking at the definition here of an economic system. So an economic system refers to the way that a country uses its resources to organize production and the distribution of goods and services to maximize the benefits to its society. Economic systems vary worldwide. All right. So we are looking at different economic systems here, which you all would have remembered for econ, for those who are doing it, for those who are new to it. It's just how we are going to use our resources to organize production and the distribution of different goods and services. It answers, how are we going to do it? All right. So in this lesson, we are going to discuss the 4 ways in which these resources can be distributed, how it can be produced, which is very important. We have first one, subsistence economy. The second, the free market economy. Third, planned economy. And fourth, mixed economy. And I'm sure if I ask you all to raise your hand for those who remember this or have an idea what this is, I'm sure you will give me some good thumbs up for what you're seeing here on this slide. It's very familiar. You're going to see it basically in every textbook, whether it be economics, PoB, you may see it in PoA, but yes, you all have an idea. So before we get into, so in this session, we are looking at just these 4. This is only what we have to look at. the government will have to choose the economic program that will effectively manage the economies. So before they choose which economy to have in their economy, they have to understand that they have to ask these questions before they get their answer. So should we go with a subsistence economy? Should we go with a free market economy? Should we go with a, what do you call it, the planned economy? Or should we just go with a mixed economy? These are the questions that the government will ask themselves by asking these questions. What they have, once they have the answers to these questions, they will then decide which economy they are going to have within, let's say, Trinidad and Tobago. All right. So the first question is, what to produce? What are we going to be producing here in Trinidad? What's going to be our main resource that can bring us real money for the economy? We don't know yet. Let me see what else we can ask. How much would it take for us to produce this within the economy of Trinidad? How much would it cost us a fortune to bring in the money or bring in the resources? And then we have to pay for all these different charges. How are we doing it? So how much to produce? The third one is what methods of production are to be used. How are we going to produce these items so that the entire economy, both consumers as well as producers, will be able to get access to this? So what methods of production are to be used? Are we going to do manual labor? Are we going to facilitate automation? What are we going to do? What is the resource are we going to be using? And the fourth question is, how will goods and services be distributed? Absolutely very important. Very, very important to note. You can't just produce something, the government can't just have something, and they don't know how to distribute it to its consumers. Then they just waste their time. So answers to questions 1, 2, and 4 will depend on the economic system of each country. So I hope you all are getting the idea of what's happening here. The government wants to decide on the type of economic system they want for the economy by answering these simple questions. It might be simple for us to ask these questions to ourselves, but they will look more in depth to these different types of questions. All right. So let me get down to it. Let us understand the first one, which is the subsistence economy. It is also called the traditional economic systems. So what this slide is saying here is that, as the name suggests, it is all about survival. We are not out here, the government is not out here to make any profits. We just want to survive. We want producers and consumers to survive on what they have. We're not planning on, making these types of profits. It's not about creating wealth or surpluses. It is very traditional. It is subsistence. These groups tend to grow most of their food by themselves. They're not going to import it. They're not going to go on Amazon and search up these different items, bring it on. No, they're very traditional. They even know what the internet is right here. All right. So in this economy, they're very laid back. They just want to survive. They only care to provide only their basic needs. And what are our basic needs again, you guys? Just remind me here quickly. Or you better give me the first answer as, let me see. What's our basic good? Anushka, you give me the first answer, food. The next basic need that we have is clothes. We do need clothes. So we have food, clothing, and shelter. Those are our basic needs. So in this economy, they're going to plant their own food. They will probably get whatever material to make their own clothing. And let me talk about the shelter, how they're going to provide their own shelter. All right, so in this economy, it is very basic. All right, you gotta understand so far, okay? So advantages and disadvantages of the traditional economy, also called the subsistence economy. We have the advantages here presented to you guys. Every member of the society knows their role, and their social network is very strong. It's sometimes seen as like a huge family or huge community coming together to provide for one another. They're not planning on ripping off another by stealing and those kind of things. They really here for their survival. So they're more family oriented, I must say, in my opinion. The disadvantages, on the other hand, we're seeing it here. The society is very slow to changes. Look at America. Look at even China. These countries, we say that they are so developed, and we are still developing. Imagine if we were to be just doing the subsistence type of economy in Trinidad. All the changes are taking place around the world. Technological changes, all these different changes that's happening. We may not even know what's going on because we're so traditional. They do not take advantage of technological change. So we just kind of said that point. And there's little or no development of intellectual or scientific initiatives. So I know someone in the chat asked me earlier about what do you call it? The medicine. How do they get medicine? They're making their own medicine, my dear. They're making their own medicine. They're providing for, they might find some fruit and that's from plants, all these different things. Herbal lifestyle. All right. So there's no discovery of medicine, the advanced medicine. They will not have that because of their lack of intellectual or scientific initiatives. All right. So we have here the subsistence economy. So this is where I want to ask you guys, do you all know that there are subsistence economies actually operating still? Do you all know of any? So I'm going to pause this for a while, and I want to hear some of your answers. Good. So some of the examples that I'm seeing here, which is correct from the chat, are people who are involved with labor-intensive, let's say, agriculture, right? When you are only sorting out just your livestock, when you just think of that, you are part of the subsistence economy. And in this economy of Trinidad, there are some parts of this country that you will see the traditional economic system, where they don't really have electricity. They probably just rely on, again, survival. They just rely on survival. They're going to make their own clothing, provide their own food. They'll plant their crops, get their foods, all these different things that will happen in the subsistence economy. Very good. Very good, you guys. I'm happy to hear that you all actually are aware of what's happening in this economy. You will see this. I'm sure there are times when you all are driving around countryside of Trinidad, you all will see subsistence economy. Yeah. Now, let us look at the next type of economic systems, which is the free market economic system, where it is also called the free enterprise or laissez-faire. Free market economic system, which is also called free enterprise or laissez-faire. And let's see what this is basically saying. Private individuals own the greatest share of the property and capital resources that are used in the production process. There is little or no government intervention in the economic activities of the country. The government may provide essential services, for example, transportation and water. Therefore, the private sector provides a majority of goods and services. All right, so when you think of the free market, you're just simply thinking about these types of economies where there's no government intervention, people are operating by themselves, well, not by themselves, but they have their own private groups to sort of make some kind of profits within the economy. So they are private individuals. You all remember from last class when we spoke about the private sector? You all remember the private sector versus the public sector? Think of the private sector as part of the free market economic systems. Right? Okay, so let us look at the characteristics. So we have here the characteristics of the free market economy. So we say what you all could differentiate here is that with the free market economy, there's little government interference. So the government has little say in all of the private activities that take place in the private sector. I'm sure you all will actually agree with what I'm saying here when we just compare public versus private hospitals. We have the public hospital, we have the private hospitals, we have the public schools, we have the private schools, right? You'll see public transport, public schools, what we say public schools, private schools. We have resources that are owned by private individuals as well as companies. So because these resources are owned by private individuals and companies, but in this free market economy, the government cannot tell us, all right, you all cannot produce this, you all cannot do this. In this free market, you're going to see resources that are going to be probably very costly because, you know, private sectors, they aim for that profit. They are profit motivated. Whereas with the public sector, you're going to see that they will try to accommodate everyone in the entire economy. But the private sector, you're going to see you have to probably pay so much more money to just have access to their services. All right. Then we have the third characteristics of the free market economy. And look at what it's saying. What, how, and for whom to produce is determined by the price system. The price system here that we are speaking of, for those who are doing economics with me, we are basically speaking of the whole concept of the demand and supply analysis. We want to determine what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, so that we will know that for all those who are demanding goods from us, all those who we have to supply goods to, you know, they have an answer to these three questions: what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. All right. The fourth characteristic of free market economy: prices are determined by the interaction of supply and demand. So we just set up this in the price system. And competition among producers, you're going to see this as well, because private companies coming together now to, you know, compete with each other. Who has a better service? We want money, so they're going to keep competing for, you know, that first rank of, I have exceptional service, come by me, I have, you know, all these different, you know, services that are being offered. But again, the secret motive is money. Always remember that, you guys. So the free market, because we're dealing with the private sector, they are dealing solely, they are only motivated by making a profit. There's freedom to enter or leave the market. And well, I find that's number 7 should have been the first one. But 2 things to just note if you all are really studying and understanding what this slide is saying. You see these 2 points here: little government interference, and number 7, profit motive. This is what takes place in the free market economy. Little to no government interference, and there's the profit motive, and well, everything else here. Let us look now at the advantages of the free market economy. So there's competition amongst the business, which will result in increased quality of output and lower prices. Competition also leads to innovation, that is, newly invented goods, services, and production processes. So competition, imagine you have to compete with someone in, not only in school, but let's say you want to get first place, because if you get first in this exam, or you get distinction, hey, Miss could give all a little, you know, reward, right? So competition amongst these private sectors, there's a greater reward, and we all established what the greater reward is, which is that number 7 from the previous slide: profits. Consumers are free to choose the goods and services that they wish to purchase. So there's freedom. Hear the word common sense, you guys. Free market economy. There's freedom of choice, freedom to do whatever they please. I mean, they have to stay within, you know, boundaries, but hey, there's little to no government intervention. There's the invisible hand or price mechanism which determines the price. So this last point here about, they're speaking about the invisible hand. We say the invisible hand because it basically represents, you know, an economy that's trying to reach equilibrium. Have you ever heard of that term before? Equilibrium? So the invisible hand is where the economy is aiming for equilibrium. Equilibrium, yes. Jamal, you want to aim for stability. Good. That's a good answer. Also, you could also say that equilibrium is where all that the consumers want in the economy is all that is being produced within the economy. So the producers are supplying what the consumers want. The invisible hand is at work. So in this free market, the government can tell us how to do it. Nobody can tell us how to do it. We are free to produce and consume. Produce and consume. That's how the invisible hand works. Are you all okay with this? I know it's very basic right now for those who have done this already with me and probably in the past as well, but is there a lot more clarity for the free market economy? All right. So now we are looking at the disadvantages. The disadvantages of the free market economy. Consumer exploitation by suppliers may go unchecked by government as there's little or no government intervention. But I sure you all were predicting that, because I mean, if everybody is free to do whatever they want to do, free to do whatever they want to do, there's going to be exploitation. You can't just be free to do whatever you want to do. You're going to get burned because of the little to no government intervention within this economy. So we have to have some kind of control, right? Remember, in life, you know, you have to have some kind of control, right? Yes. I'm seeing here the second point. There's an unequal distribution of wealth as goods are purchased by only those who can afford it. So the private sector, because they are only profit motivated, like for example, the private healthcare system, private hospitals, only the rich will be able to benefit out of these private services, not the poor. You will not see a poor man walking into a private hospital. You really will see that. If you'll ever see that, call me, message me. Let me, this is something that I have to witness by myself, right? But you will not see it if you just have only private entities operating, charging us. You know, you have to go to some beaches and you have to pay to go in the beach. I mean, beaches are supposed to be free for the public, but if you are going to, like, let's say, if you ever went Pigeon Point, I think Pigeon Point, you have to pay to go in. Even like there was a time in Macquarie Beach here in Trinidad, right? You consider the beaches as a public good. It's supposed to be free for the public, but there are beaches that are developed that are being, you know, taken care of so that they can attract tourists. And only those who want to pay their money can enter these beaches. Right? So I'm seeing some of your answers. I know that's reality. But just know this is only under the free market economy. So we have to decide. I hope you all are doing this by the time while we are looking at these different economies here. Try to decipher, is Trinidad part of the free market? Was Trinidad part of the subsistence economy, which we just looked at? Are we part of the subsistence? Are we part of the free market? I want you all to, while we are doing these slides, think of what do you think the economy of Trinidad falls under. So let me continue. So you all have the other disadvantages here on this slide that you all could definitely look at. I just wanted to just point out those that are actually very important to note because of the limited government intervention, you're going to see, disruptions taking place. Only the wealthier persons will be able to benefit. Poorer people, the poorer class of people, it will be very difficult. Okay. Now we are looking at the third type of economic system, and we are almost done. We are almost through with this session. The planned or controlled economic system. While you all are reading this slide, all I have to say is a few words to just summarize what you all are seeing here. Planned or controlled. It is only owned by the government. All decisions, everything is being controlled only by the government. So I hope you all see the difference. Private sector, no government intervention. Planned, all government intervention. All right. That's one thing that you all could definitely see with the free markets economy, where it is private. Planned economy, we have government. So let's look at the characteristics. So you'll take a read of this. See what's happening with the free markets. All right, so you're seeing exactly what I'm trying to bring across. Everything is by the government. Everything is owned by the government, prices are set by the government, profits spent on all the citizens, so the government doesn't pocket this. I mean, right. So what we're trying to say here is that with the planned economy, we expect that the government, when they get the money from the taxes, they will spend it on us. They will use the money to enhance the economy, to make the economy better. All right. The decision of what, how, and for whom to produce is made by the central planning agency. Very simple. We have the advantages of the planned economic system. There's a fair distribution of goods and services as the government determines how goods are being distributed. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry if you're going to, be able to get access to an education. There are public schools. You don't have to worry to get access to healthcare systems. There's public hospitals. What's happening in the planned economic system is that because the government typically cares about the entire economy, they will provide these goods and services free of charge. That's all. It may not be the best service. You might just have to wait probably your entire life to just get a particular service, or you might have to wait to actually be attended to. But the fact of the matter is, you are getting this service from the government. Wasteful competition is avoided while these private sectors, they aim for just profits. They only want profits in the economy. Right? They only want profits. They might end up taking out all our resources and not making it to full use within the economy. So I know for my econ students, you should be thinking of, that whole production possibility curve. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry for those who are not doing econ with me. I like to make my references to, these different subject areas. So for those who are doing it with me, you all will see in light how these two are related. So wasteful competition is avoided under the planned economic system because the government is in full control. The disadvantages, well, poor service. You might not get the best service. There's inefficiency allocated as consumers are not free to indicate their demand for the goods or services. Resources are not sent to where they are most needed, but into industries based on government decisions. So hardly than likely, you may not see the government asking consumers' opinion. Once the government make up their mind on something, we can't say nothing. Let me give you an example. Whenever Colin Imbert were to address the economy of Trinidad and Tobago with the budget or, whatever it may be, it may have been, yes, due to his analysis of what's happening and the concerns of consumers, but they have the final say. They will make the final say on what they are going to do within the economy. That's the planned economic system. It may not be good to us, gas prices rising, everything increasing. We don't want that, but the government has the last say. The lack of competition reduces innovation and the motivation to produce quality output. That's another significant disadvantage that you will see under the planned economic system. It is sometimes too rigid, that is inflexible to changes such as shortages. There's too much bureaucracy, meaning too much rules and regulations and procedures and paperwork. You can't just pick up and just say, I'm going to do this. No, the government will have their say on how to do it, when to do it. Just they have to follow these rules and procedures. And obviously, there's no freedom of choice for producers and consumers. So that sums up the planned economic system. So do you think the economy of Trinidad has that? Let's find out. We have one more to still look at. The next one we are looking at is called the mixed economic system. So the mixed economic system looks at private and public sectors are both involved in the production of goods and services. The economic resources are owned by the government and private individuals. Economic decisions are made by the price system and the state. Private sector to maximize profits and public sector to maximize social welfare. Public sector produces the goods that the private sector is unwilling to provide. So based on these points here, just looking at it, do you think we fall under this category of the mixed economic system? Let me see some thumbs up or some yeses. We are part of the mixed economic system. So when you are writing your answers in the exam, I know we're almost through with all these basic theory work. I know it's just, you all need to know this because in the exam, these are the questions that they bring. And when we start our past papers and when you are answering these types of questions, it is important that whenever they're asking for some examples, or let's say they don't even ask for an example, but it's probably worth 5 marks, give an example. An example of the mixed economic system is the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. That will definitely impress the examiners when they are correcting your scripts. We could also say that within the mixed economic system, we know that there's a combination of public and private sector, factors of production owned by both private and public enterprises. There is an element of competition. public versus private. The fourth characteristic that we have here on this slide is that the government provides public goods not for profit, while private sector focuses on producing goods and services for profits. So the government provides public goods not for profit, where we know the private sector will only focus on their profits. Even though supply and demand is allowed to set price, the government may sometimes intervene to control the price of certain products which it feels are needed by all. So while, you know, anybody could get shelter, but it's the type of shelter that you want. Could it be a fancy home or just a basic shelter? That's one of our basic needs, right? So even though the supply and demand might just be within the economy, the government will ensure that basic needs are provided. There's some freedom to enter or leave the market or particular industry. Government may control entry to some industries. All right, so let me look at number 6 here a little bit more in depth because we are almost finished. This is our last 3 slides again till the end of class. This number 6 point. I'm sorry, you guys, I'm going to go back into the econ. Those who do economics. Government may control entry to some industries. Can you all give me some examples? And even for my PoB Form 4s, I know you all are hearing me. I know you all are new to this. Don't feel intimidated when I keep talking about my economics. Don't. But you all are aware that sometimes that, for example, the economy of Trinidad. Have you all ever seen another water company, like a company that supplies water for us? Let me see my Form 4 students. So all those who are new, have you all ever seen another company providing water services to us besides, okay, WASA? WASA is the only company that provides water. WASA is the only company in Trinidad that provides water to us. I know that this might be a give and take answer. Let me see if I can think of another example. You know of any other company that provides electricity to those in the economy besides Tech? Tech, right? So you see this number 6 point? Because these are government industries or government companies. WASA is run by the government. Tech is, you know, we have all of these industries that they have no competition. WASA can't just say, hey, next week, we done. We ain't going to supply no more water. You think that could even happen? You think they could even think like that? I mean, there are strikes, yes, but you think they can just pick up and leave the industry for good? No, they can't. So these types of businesses, you may see them always, they will always be existing unless another company that provides a similar service comes out. All right. So that is why we say that government may control entry to some industry. It is not easy. Where was the point again? It is not easy to just pick up and leave the market. So some freedom to enter or leave the market. It is impossible to leave the water industry unless another water is established. All right, so that's a point that I just want to draw to everyone. But when we reach into economics, we go a little bit more in depth with this. All right, so for the last two slides, advantages of the mixed economies. We have it here on the slide. The welfare of citizens is considered. Social and public goods can be adequately produced. So we have the police, roads, hospitals, they're all providing the services free of charge. You could go to the police station, you could get, um, free services, right? We also have here, competition keeps prices low and quality high. So we could notice, sorry, just give me a second, you guys. We could notice because both the private sector and the public sector will be competing to kind of have this high quality service being presented. But obviously some would lose because they just choose not to compete, right? There's freedom to choice and greater variety. We can choose between the private sector or the public sector. There's a creation of jobs either in the private sector or in the public sector. The government can set price ceilings on certain products. In other words, when you hear price ceilings is the upper limit set by the government in an economy. So if private sector feel that they can come and increase the price past what the government implement, which is the price ceiling, then that will not work. It is only when the government places these price ceilings is when they will have to, the private sector will have to try to, meet that service or meet that quality or provide that service that is worth that price. They cannot go beyond it. It is the upper limit set by the government. Another economics term that you all need to note. For those who, I'm just explaining this to for the first time, are you all okay with what a price ceiling is? Anybody needs me to just explain over? We're almost through. We have one more slide again. So just get some thumbs up that you're all okay with what is a price ceiling. Okay, so I'm seeing you all ask me in the chat, yes, to go it over. So let me just explain over what the price ceilings is about for the mixed economies. So just reading it over, government can set price ceilings on certain products. That basically means that a price ceiling that is being set on certain products means the government is going to set the highest price to that good or that service. No private entities can go beyond that price that the government sets. That is the highest price the government can set on these certain goods and services. So let's say, for example, agricultural products. If you are looking at, these farmers who have to compete with these private entities, the government can protect farmers, our local farmers here in Trinidad, by simply placing a price ceiling on certain crops. So that if these private entities who just thirsty for money, who just want money, who wants the profits, they can just, they cannot go beyond that price that the government has set. That's all what this point is basically saying. Once the government set that price ceiling, think of a ceiling. Think of the ceiling over your head right now. The ceiling is the highest price that the government can set on certain products. No private entity can go beyond that price. All right, but it's only on certain products. That's the key word here. Only on certain products. So I hope that clears up the air for you guys. Okay. So again, there's no need to cram this off. Once you all understand, you know, it is just to revise so you all can remember it for the exam. We don't cram. There's no need to cram this. So the mixed economy, we have a combination of the public and the private. With the free market, you only have private entities. With the planned economy, it's only the government. All right. So the last slide, so the last slide for the night, disadvantages of the mixed economy. Well, there is some uneven distribution of wealth. Profit is pursued, which at times may result in the welfare of society being ignored by the private sector. All right. Workers, especially in the public sector, may be inefficient due to lack of motivation, since there may be no incentive to work hard. So you all know how hardworking these public sector people are? Not really. Public sectors, they are not really motivated because they get a standard rate, you know, throughout the economy. So they lack the motivation. But if you work for a private company, then you know you are going to benefit with the profits that are being enjoyed within the economy. There's bureaucracy and red tape that exists in the public sector, meaning a lot of rules and regulations that must still be followed. So even though the private sector exists within this mixed economy, the public sector have basically the last say, which is because it has bureaucracy. Right? And then the last slide for tonight, decision makers in a mixed economy, we have consumers, we have firms or the producers to make profit, we have factor owners, which are persons who own the factors of production, and we have the government. All these different types of entities make up the mixed economy. All right. So basically, that's it for our lesson 3. This is our 3rd lesson. We have completed our 3rd lesson. What we are looking at next week, please God, which let me just pause it. So thanks again, you guys. I'm just pausing this here now. So that was the end of our lesson 3.